Good morning and welcome back to Bath & Body Works school. Class is now in session and we're having outdoor school today. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to determine the age of your Bath & Body Works products. So to determine the age of your Bath & Body Works products, we're going to need to learn how to decipher batch codes. I've also brought a few examples from each Bath & Body Works era. That way you can see some examples of some older products and also current products because there are some variations within these batch codes. I've been meaning to make this video for a while, but what inspired me to finally do it is I went to the thrift store recently and found some old Bath & Body Works treasures, and so I thought there was no better time to share with you how to read dates on Bath & Body Works products than to show you these super old items, and I'll show you how I determined their age. So without delay, let's get started. So step one is you're going to need to locate where the batch code is printed on your bottle. For almost all Bath & Body Works products, the batch code is going to be printed onto the bottle, usually on the bottom or the back, and it's usually in black text. Sometimes you'll see it in yellow just because maybe if it's a darker bottle or the product inside is darker, it makes it a little bit easier to show up if it's in yellow. So occasionally it's yellow, usually black. The batch code is usually a combination of letters and numbers. This is not going to be the same thing as the SKU number, which is usually something that starts in 0067559 or 558 or some kind of variation that's similar to that. That is going to be the SKU, not the batch code. Usually the SKU is on a sticker, but the batch code is printed directly on the plastic or the glass of your jar or bottle. For things like body lotions, shower gels, fine fragrance mist, and candles, the batch code is usually going to be printed directly on the bottle, but for things like tubes of lip gloss or body cream, it's going to be on the back of the top edge of the crimped side of the tube. So here I have a Bath & Body Works body lotion, and you can see that batch code printed right there. And this is a tube of body cream. You can kind of see it there. It's hard to see because they usually make it the same color as the bottle, but on that crimped end of the tube, you can see that the numbers are embossed on the top there. So now that you have located your batch code, we need to learn how to decipher it. So there's a couple different formulas you're gonna need to know depending on how old exactly your Bath & Body Works is from. So if you're looking at a product that is from 2010 all the way up to current date, then your batch code is gonna look a little bit different from anything prior to 2010. So first let's talk about the more current products, anything after 2010. The first digit that you're going to see on there is going to represent the year that the bottle was created in. The next three digits are going to be the day within the year. So let's look at a couple of examples of what that would look like. So here we have a body lotion with the batch code printed on the bottom in black, and it says 2279 as the first four digits. So digit number 1 is 2, so that's going to mean that it's either from 2022 or 2012. Then the next three digits are 279. So that means that it was the 279th day of the year. Now, I'm not very good at figuring it out in my head, but you can usually just Google what is the 279th day of the year, or you can just kind of use process of elimination. It's the last third of the year because you're already 200 days in. So after that, within the code, we don't really need the rest of those numbers and letters to determine when this lotion was poured. So the 279th day of the year was October 6th. So now we have determined that this is from October 6th of either 2012 or 2022. So now all we have to do is use some context clues to figure out, is it 2012 or 2022? Now, if you are a frequent customer at Bath & Body Works and you're very familiar with their products, you will probably look at this and instantly know that the answer is 2022. Now, you may be not as familiar with the brand and not know which one it is, so let me teach you a couple of tips and tricks I like to use to be able to determine that if you're just not sure. This does require a little bit of brand knowledge or product knowledge, but this is stuff that you can easily Google as well if you're just not sure. So sun-ripened raspberry, first of all, we've got the fragrance. This is a fragrance that has actually been around since the 90s. A lot of people my age have memories of their moms having this on their night table or their dresser, so that doesn't really help us narrow it down. It still could be 2012 or 2022, just based on the fragrance alone. But what helps me is I remember that there was actually a brand repackage somewhere around 2012 and 2013, where the bottles used to actually have a different shape. So body lotions used to have this shape anytime before 2012 and 2013. So if it had been in one of these bottles, then I would have known this is probably a 2012 version of sun-ripened raspberry. Now, on the other hand, we've got this here where we've got the straight edges. So because of the shape of this bottle, it really helps me know that this is a more modern bottle. Once again, if you're someone who's not very familiar with all of the history of Bath & Body Works and your product knowledge, that's totally fine. A tool that I like to use if I'm just not sure is I actually like to look at the way Wayback Machine, and I'll make sure to leave a link in the description box below. This is actually a archive database of the internet, essentially, and what I like to do is look at bathandbodyworks.com, and if I'm debating whether it's between two different years, I'll look at bathandbodyworks.com, and I'll look in maybe 2012 and see if I can find that product somewhere on the website or available in their shop. And if I don't find it anywhere there or something that looks like it, then I can check the other year and go to 2022 and see if I can find it there. And usually with that method, if I'm really confused, I can usually find my answer there. Another context clue that you can use to determine if your product is new versus more modern, something I like to do is look at the Bath & Body Works logo itself. Bath & Body Works actually switched logos around the early kind of mid-2000s time, maybe 2003, 4. Pretty much what I like to do is if I think that I might have a 1990s or very early 2000s product, then I will check for the old logo, the Heartland era logo. Usually this is green and it has Bath & Body Works in this font, and then it has a sunburst kind of sunset logo. So if you have a logo like that on your Bath & Body Works product, then you know you've got an oldie. If anywhere on your bottle the logo that says Bath & Body Works is a little bit of a thinner font or is more spread out in the text, then you can assume that this product is probably from 2005 or more current. Let's look at another example. So here I've got a 3-wick candle, and I found the batch code right on the bottom there printed in black. The first 4 digits say 9318. So already based on the batch code formula that we've got here, we can determine that it's later than 2010. So that first digit there is a 9, so we can assume that this is from 2019. 318 are the next 3 digits, which tell us that it was the 318th day of the year, which makes sense that it was towards the end of the year because this is a holiday candle. So that tells us this was around Christmas time this was made, which adds up to the packaging. Here is my final example of a more modern day Bath & Body Works product. I've got a fine fragrance mist here, and the liquid of the mist is a dark purple color, so you can kind of see it there that this batch code is printed in yellow. It makes it a tiny bit easier to read. So the first 4 digits are 2122. So we've got either 2012 or 2022 since the first digit is a 2, and then 122 are the next 3 digits, so it's the 122nd day of the year. 122nd day of the year, that's hard to say. The 122nd day of the year is May 2nd. So we've got either 2012 or 2022. Now, based on my product knowledge, this is actually a summer semi-annual sale fragrance, so it makes sense that this was poured in May. I'm the one that purchased this, so I know for sure that this is from 2022, not 2012. I remember this collection very vividly, and if you were to Google cotton candy clouds, you will see that all of the results are very modern and current. So before we move on to how to decipher batch codes from before 2010, there are going to be a couple of batch codes that don't follow that first digit being the year and then the next 3 being the day of the year. There are some that are shorter batch codes. This is usually for smaller items, things like accessories and lip care. Let's look at an example of that really quick before we move on to those older items. So this is a little pot of lip mask that I bought not too long ago. So already in my context clues, I know that this one, it can't be that old. In fact, if you were to look at the Bath & Body Works website right now, modern day, without even using the Wayback Machine, you will see that there are some similar packaging of lip mask in the same shape, same size. So already we know that this is going to be something that's probably pretty current. I don't know if you can see that tiny little printed number there, but it says 4AA5. So oftentimes with these tiny little batch codes, whatever the first digit is the representation of the year. So Bath & Body Works was established in 1990, so our options are 1994, 2004, or 2024. So since I use the website as my tool for context clues, plus my own memory of purchasing this recently, we can easily say that this is from 2024. Time to look at some older Bath & Body Works products. These ones are going to be older than 2010, so their batch codes are going to look a little bit different, and we're going to decipher them a little bit differently as well. So we're still going to be using the first 4 digits of these older batch codes to determine when this product was manufactured, except these older ones are just flip-flopped. So the first 3 digits are going to be the day within the year, and then the 4th digit, the one that's right in front of the capital letter, is actually going to be the number that represents the year. I have noticed a trend that in these older products, the capital letter that is right after the number that represents the year is usually a capital C. So sometimes that's what I look for to determine if this is truly an older product or if it's a newer one. Also, the batch codes on the older products are a little bit shorter and don't follow that same combination of letters and numbers that the newer ones do. Here is a bottle of coconut lime verbena from my old school collection. I remember buying these when I was a kid in late elementary school. So already with that context information, I'm given a little bit of context. Also, this is that older shape of bottle. So we know already based on this kind of interesting shape with the little cinched insides there that this is something that is older than 2010. Also, the fragrance is a giveaway for anyone who is familiar with the older classic scents of Bath & Body Works. Coconut lime verbena is one of our original 90s and 2000s fragrances, but that doesn't necessarily disqualify it from being a more modern product because we do have semi-annual sales that bring back older fragrances. But that being said, that is another context clue we can use. I did find the batch code, but unfortunately it is pretty rubbed off, and also there's kind of like this little center bump on the bottle of lotion, and when it printed on, it looks like it was a little bit disfigured, like it didn't print on quite right. So it looks like the first digit is a 3. I think the next one is probably a 5. And then the third one, completely indistinguishable. But then we've got 5 and then a capital G, a capital A, and a 2. So the numbers we mainly need to look at are the first 4 digits. So the first 3 digits are 3, 5, something. So that tells us that this was made at the very end of the year. So perhaps this was something that they were going to use either for a brand new spring collection, or maybe they were using it for a semi-annual sale, or it was just a later in the year kind of production. The next digit is clear as day, and it is the number 5, which really adds up with what we've got going on with this packaging here. We had Bath & Body Works Pleasures, which in my context knowledge of the company, I know that they had Simple Pleasures as the kind of their lingo for their signature collection body care. So 2005 adds up in my timeline of my knowledge. So if I could summarize this tutorial in about 2 sentences, I would say this. If you have a product that is older than 2010, the first 3 digits of your batch code are the day within the year, and then the 4th digit is the year. If you have a product that is from 2010 up to modern day, then the first digit is going to be the year, and the next 3 digits are going to be the day within the year. Now, before I wrap up this video, I wanted to share with you a little thrift haul of some really cool Bath & Body Works vintage treasures that I found at the thrift store. So first product up is actually from the home fragrance department, White Barn Candle Co. it says on it, which nowadays we still have White Barn as our home fragrance line, but they usually just call it White Barn, so already White Barn Candle Co. is kind of dating it a little bit. If you were around in the 90s, then you will probably remember the popularity of jelly candles. So I have a trio set of jellified fruit candles. These are so funny. I know myself included, the intrusive thought is to just open this right up and stick my finger in it and completely ruin it. But I'm keeping it sealed just because I kind of want to keep it preserved as well as I can. So here is what that logo looks like on the front. So it says mixed fruits, strawberry, and sun-ripened raspberry. And we know that sun-ripened raspberry especially is one of the Bath & Body Works classics that's been around since the beginning of Bath & Body Works essentially. It says Nature's Preserves Candle Set. On this back logo, it pretty much just says the same thing that it does on the front, but it also has the address of the New Albany, Ohio, and then just a little fire warning when you're burning candles. But how fun is that? So I wasn't able to find a batch code on this box. I wonder if perhaps the batch codes could be on the bottom of the candles themselves. Like I said, I'm trying to preserve it. I don't think I have the heart to open it, at least at this time. So there is one side opened, but otherwise it's completely intact. So I don't really think I have the heart to open and find out, but I can do a Google reverse image search and maybe get a little context clues there. So if I find anything cool, I'll make sure to include it. Last thing about this candle trio is that it was retail priced at $22, and the Goodwill price I bought it for is $5.99. This is the first time that I've actually found something in the wild that I'd be like, I would have bought that on eBay for a lot of money probably. So this is one of my more proud finds. So this is a Country Apple mason jar candle. We know that this one's an oldie because, first of all, Country Apple's very old, but they've got the kind of 90s art style. They often used this quaint cursive font here. And then also down below here, you can see we've got the old school Heartland era Sunburst logo. I also love this part. In the glass on the jar embossed is the Sunburst logo as well. And then on the bottom here, another Sunburst logo, and then you can see here that this used to cost $10. I bought it for $3.99 at the thrift store. On the bottom it just says mason jar candle, and then it just has some instructions on how to care for your candle. But then you can see here we've got a printed batch code, so let's decipher it together. It says 1249C. So besides the context clues of the older fragrance, the older packaging, the Sunburst logo, I see that batch code. I see a capital C and the fact that it's a little bit shorter than the modern day products, and I'm instantly alerted that this must be an oldie. So we have 1249C. So we've got 9, so this could be 1999, 2009. Those are our only two options. I already know that this is not 2009 because at this point, Bath & Body Works had already been doing their rebrand from their original Sunburst Heartland era. Then we have 124, which means that this would have been poured on the 124th day of the year. So that means that this Country Apple Mason jar candle was poured in May of 1999. And this is in such good condition too. There's no dust on the wax. You can tell that they left the lid on, whoever used to own this. And it still smells exactly like Country Apple as I remember. My next vintage find from the thrift store, you can see I got it for $1.99, but this is an old school fragrance that I know a lot of people actually have requested when I work at Bath & Body Works to come back. Customers are always mentioning this one. This is Rice Flower and Shea, and this is body lotion. And we've got our Simple Pleasures logo here and that kind of old school bottle. So already I'm thinking this is somewhere in the 2004 to 2006 range. Batch code on the bottom says 0444 capital G. So we've got 044, so this is made on the 44th day of the year. So what's that, like February, March kind of time? And then another 4, which means 2004. So this one on the back says, softly scented rice flour blends beautifully with creamy shea butter extract in this soul-soothing fragrance. That's so cute. So I did smell this before I bought it, and it was kind of like one of those scents that's not necessarily pack-a-punch kind of fragrance, but it actually smells surprisingly good, a little bit on the Play-Doh side. I feel like this probably, when it was in its prime, smelled something similar to that oatmeal body cream that we have now in the Wellness collection. Now, I actually have this fragrance in a more modern version from a semi-annual sale in my collection, and I also have the body lotion from way back when. So this is another Bath & Body Works Simple Pleasures that I found in the thrift store. This is Mango Mandarin Body Splash. It says it's infused with real mango and orange extracts in it. And then this one, I don't seem to find a batch code on there anywhere, but I did see that it has this original barcode sticker with the price on there. It said that this was $10.50 for this full-size spray. That's 8 ounces of fragrance mist, so pretty cool. On the back, this one says, energizing, luscious, juicy mango and mandarin orange mingle with energizing citrus notes in this mouth-watering fragrance. I'm super excited about this next find. So this is actually a collection that Bath & Body Works had for kind of a short amount of time, and that is called the Temptations line. This was a collection that was geared especially towards the fruity and gourmand lovers. This was all about treats and kind of the more edible fragrances, and this was a line that was around 2006 to 2008. This collection is actually where Twisted Peppermint was born, so that classic Christmas fragrance that we know today came from this Temptations line. But isn't this such a crazy thing to find in a thrift store? And it's barely used, if at all. So I was super excited to find this. It smells so good. This is my first Temptations body care that I've ever owned, actually. This was during a time that at Bath & Body Works I did not shop at all, and I really, really missed out on this. So this is called Iced Tea Twist, and it smells exactly like that. It smells like an Arnold Palmer. It's very strong of iced tea, but it does have those citrus lemon notes in there as well. So here it's got the Temptations logo, and it says it's in all of us. And on the back, it has little nutrition facts. All of them did because they were all inspired by little sweet treats or foods. This whole body lotion costs only $8. This costs less than what our little hand creams cost nowadays. So that is crazy to me. But the batch code on this one says 7058 capital G. So this one's kind of a head scratcher because this is an older product, but it has 705 as the first digits. Now we can't have a 700th day in the year because there's only 365. So this could be, the fourth digit is an 8, so we could assume this is from 2008, or if we were to use the other method for the more modern products, this could be 2007. So either way, in this case, we're knowing that this one is either from 2007 or 2008. It's close enough for me to kind of get a range. I can't believe how good this smells, even for being that old, so super cool find. I was internally screaming when I saw this sitting on the shelf, and I snatched it up so fast just because I recognized the outside of the bottle, and this one is truly an OG, original, old school Bath & Body Works product. Get ready. Country Apple Body Splash with moisturizing aloe vera, and it's got the old school first packaging. This is the same packaging that was in my photographs that I showed in this video. If you haven't seen it, I'll make sure to leave a link up in the card section above where I actually saw these photographs on eBay, purchased, and kind of unboxed them on camera. So this was a debut of a store way back in like the 1990s. Products are matching up to what this is. So what's really interesting to me is in my area, my local Bath & Body Works was established in 1997, and this product, the batch code says it's from 1995. So this one didn't even come from my location, so that's pretty cool. But on the back, it says Bath & Body Works Body Splash contains the natural moisture refresher aloe vera to gently stimulate and cool the body. It is scented with country apple. Splash on after bath or shower. So something to be said about the Heartland era of Bath & Body Works is they really were going for that all-natural, I just freshly picked these botanical ingredients from the farm this morning kind of vibe. And we all know that Bath & Body Works really isn't like that. Like, we know they were made in a factory, but they really were going based off that all-natural kind of, this is what the classic 1990s American woman wants. Like, that was the vibe of their branding. Not only the visuals of the marketing, you can see that, but also in the way that they described the products on the back. Cannot believe how unused this fragrance mist is. Like, look at how full this is. This may actually never even been used at all. It does not have its original little white cap on there, but this could easily just be from evaporation that lost there, so, or maybe even that's how it was bought, because I know they don't always fill things 100% full. So I think I'm gonna do one token spray and then never spray it again, but I'm gonna spray it and see what it smells like, if it's just alcohol or if it actually smells good. Ooh, it is refreshing. Okay. I was immediately taken back to the 90s. And the thing is Country Apple has come back more recently in semi-annual sales when they do throwback fragrances. They smell not the same. Like, they smell the same like the fragrance notes are, but you can just tell that the formula is different. When I smelled this, I got nail polish remover vibes for like 2 seconds just because it was like pow, like really strong, like a perfume actually. Now as it's drying down, it smells a little bit on the soapy old side, but that moment when I just smelt it, I was like, oh, it's 1995. So there you have it. This is now in my little vintage collection. I hope you learned a whole bunch in how to date your products. You'll have to let me know down in the comments what is the oldest Bath & Body Works either in your collection or that you've come across in the wild, maybe at a thrift store. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.